Ladies and gentlemen, because of the mega drought that's going on out in the Midwest, ranchers are slaughtering more animals than usual. So, this is Slate, September 15th, 2021. Every week, the USDA, National Agricultural Statistics Service, publishes a dense report of statistics and trends that what's going on out in the sector when it comes down to ranching and farming in the country. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's so many things impacted by the drought. And as this thing goes on, because they're saying there's no end to this, what they call a mega drought going on across the West. And now what's happening is the numbers are going up with the number of livestock that's being slaughtered at alarming rates due to extreme exhaustion. All right. So farmers, this is their solution, is start killing off more livestock than usual. So the relative amount of red meat, which we know comes from cattle, and the animals that are being slaughtered at an alarming rate are cattle, sheep, hogs, and lambs. So, of course, that kind of meat is really a lucrative thing out on the market. But how long will they be able to keep this up? That's the real question. You know, all right. So between June 2020 and June 2021, Texas reported that it had slaughtered, by association, called an additional 38.2 million pounds of red meat livestock, an annual growth of about 30% for that figure. The United States as a whole reeled its net production backed by 3% over that same time period. What was worse? 36.4 million of those 38.2 million pounds of red meat were produced between May and June. A single summer month accounted for more than 95% of its increase in a year, while officials report for the subsequent months of July and August remain scattered. In assembly, local ranchers suggest that the trend is not ebbed by any noticeable degree. Analysts believe that the problem doesn't stem from the farms or the livestock, but rather the heat. Now, if you know, out there in the West, they were hitting triple digits in some locations. And yes, that is pretty hard on an animal. It really is. So they're saying it's the heat and lack of moisture. Rainfall is hardly no rainfall that led to feed and water problems. And it's hard to keep cattle healthy if you don't have enough water and enough feed. All right. So if you don't have enough of those things, it's hard to even take care of them. Cattle ranchers have been hauling water to areas where natural water resources had been dried up, and they've been feeding hay to make up for the lack of foliage. So, usually there's a lot of green grass around. Not so much. I mean, even if you look at this ground, that grass ain't so green at all. It's pretty burnt up. Okay, so without water, heat exposure and exhaustion could cause harm to cattle. The average feeder cattle will find an ideal living conditions at around 25 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. At temperatures between 80 and 100 degrees, they begin to undergo rapid exhaustion. And at temperatures above 100, they will die. The average daily high in Phoenix this summer was about 105 degrees Fahrenheit. And the year over year rainfall has plummeted from an average of 8 to 12 inches to 4.1 inches, the lowest on record in over 10 years. In the past, namely during the climax of California droughts between 2014 and 2016, ranchers adapted to the heat by selling their cattle to neighboring states like Colorado and Texas, where the heat had begun to ebb. This allowed the national market for cattle to remain afloat. All right, but now it is not just the West that is feeling the heat. The entire nation is, and ranchers are in fear that it will be difficult to meet expected long term demand hikes. So, this is what they're in fear of in the future. Many are facing drought in the North and Northwest as well, which is where most cattle go from here. Wow, I guess they do got a problem, right? The long term effects of this will be less cows producing less calf. So they're saying without the right amount of water and feed that these cattle, require, they're not going to have as many calves. Mm-mm-mm. According to the USDA reports, Texas' population of cattle on feed dropped by 60,000 heads and roughly 15% of its entire supply. Over the past year, nationally, it has reduced around 7%. Other states like Colorado have slashed supply by as much as 25.7%. Mm-mm-mm. So they're all saying, this is because they are being plagued by a drought. Mm-mm-mm. Can you imagine? So if cattle don't reproduce in drought conditions, boy, it's not going to have a trickle down effect into the markets. It will. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. Sheep and lamb are generally considered a more resistant to the heat. And as the drought has continued to plow across the West, ranchers have begun to tap into these supply channels to compensate for the heat waves exhausting their cattle. The haphazard market patch has sufficed demand for red meat thus far, but critics contend that such a rate of slaughter is far too is far too hard to maintain, with the entire regional populations calculated to exhaust within they said 2 years. If they keep going at the rate that they're going and slaughtering all of these animals, the impact of it is going to be felt in a 2 year period. And I don't know, can they really keep it up for 2 years, being that these animals don't reproduce in the heat like they normally would? Wow. Mm-mm-mm. Every time I do these stories, I think about how wrong this country has done the black farmers. And now it's not the black farmers that are falling with their land burning up, and now you got all these issues with caring for livestock because of the drought. My, how things have changed dramatically. Y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.